Hey everybody! Welcome to another episode of Defense of the Patients. I am your host, Roland. Sitting next to me, my co-host, a co-founder, an individual who helped Defense of the Patients get to where it is today. Somebody who may have started a good or bad trend, I'm not sure. The alliteration within our name titles. Theorycraft Thursday, Try Hard Tuesday, Wannabe Wednesday or whatever. Wazoo. The Grand Wazoo.
I forgot about this cheesy, 80s game show music or whatever this is.
Let's get your boogie down, is what it's called.
It's like, I feel like I guessed the prize right. Now I get to come down and get my, Honda Accord or something.
Yeah. So, Wazoo left. We can get more into it on what actually went on with Wazoo. This is back, I don't even know when it was. I think maybe December. It was probably before Charlie was born. So November, maybe October, maybe September. I'm not even sure. September of 2016. Anyway, Wazoo is my brother. For those of you, my older brother. For those of you who don't know Wazoo, which there may be a few of you. And he initially started Defense of the Patients with me and Cyphus. We would do twice weekly. We would do a Monday show and a Thursday show, and it would just be like this.
I'm actually working with Lady Chris, if you guys have met her in the community, and she's doing a dissertation kind of on, I guess, Dota in general, and kind of the huge kind of thing it's become in the community aspect and everything. And it's so interesting to watch, or listen to rather, some of those early episodes, the getting to know us type things.
Yeah.
They're not bad, but they're rough around the edges, and the lack of knowledge about the game is pretty interesting. So I suggest if anyone hasn't watched some of that earlier stuff, it's actually pretty interesting as you kind of start playing the game. It goes over some of the stuff that with a new set of eyes. So I highly suggest checking that out.
Yeah, the earlier episodes are definitely much more tame, much more quiet. Lots and lots of editing. So the reason that they probably feel more tame is anytime. Because I would probably listen to the episodes 3 times because I was editing them back then, and I would cut out little and just little teeny things, even though we had pop filters, and then I eventually was like, nope, not gonna do that anymore.
I said so much back then. It was just I think that Dota is just an amazing
Denny
experience.
He's spray some WD-40 in the robot.
Yeah, that's the Cyphus bot. The OS is malfunctioning. You need to clean the cache or something.
And of course, because Cyphus is sick, I'm gonna kick him while he's down, because that's how you do it. Anyway, let's get into your take on everything. So, Wazoo was a member. He started the Try Hard Tuesday show with Mr. Blue probably around 2 years ago now.
Yeah, it's been a while. And coming up on TI, we did a live show in Seattle with Try Hard Tuesdays, which was kind of like a pinnacle, it felt like, at some point. And seeing TI roll around and not see my MMR change is pretty damn depressing. Because it's it's been a year. I mean, granted, I've been doing a lot of stuff in real life, so I haven't had time to really dedicate to Dota. But I'm starting to now, because TI is like Dota Christmas. And, I opened all my treasures and shit and didn't get the Sven Sword or anything. So, maybe that's because I've been a bad boy or something this year. They actually back-credited that, which was pretty interesting. People are still bitching, and I guess we can go into this now or later if you want to, because I kind of want to talk about that. It's interesting. Some of my earlier criticisms on the show were about how Valve was neutering the market, and so we can kind of bring that up a little bit later if you want to.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. I feel like it's pretty obvious what they're doing, and I feel like their method is pretty dumb. I mean, it's their method is I guess we can talk about it now, but don't you think the method is very so much it's short-sighted in that we'll get a lot of money now because people, even though they're at I'm at level 1200 and I didn't get the Sven Sword, so my only action of getting the Sven Sword is now to either wait until it's marketable, which is going to be in a week.
No, it is now.
I think you have to wait a week.
No, it's currently on there. Those immortals
they're
are
immediately
different. Yeah, but all those other things, the things that you get the majority of, all of the other items, some people have 50 or so of these duplicates that they can't do anything with.
Well, you can recycle them for 2 more levels.
Okay, that's nothing though. I mean, why not at that point you're giving a better value just to buy the battle points themselves. And
the rare being more battle points is another on the tier. So this is the tier 3 chest. I understand if the first chest was like the rare gave you 50 more levels, right? The first chest does that because then you'll get more of the second chest and more of the third chest. But the third chest giving you more levels to an already what you would say would be dead end battle pass. Why would you buy any more?
It's simultaneously the best and worst battle pass ever, as I see it, because the chat wheel sounds, all this other extra stuff that they're adding are awesome. Yeah, like all that stuff, it's awesome. But at the same time, it's like, TI time used to be something where I could roll a bunch of items and like give them away. Like I know someone who plays Lich, I like emboss it or something and send it to a friend and be like, don't feed so much or something, and like give them this item or give them, the necro item or whatever, like that you don't want. You can do that with the necro immortal, but with these other things, it's like they've locked it down so much, and they originally it's like America's view on terrorism or something, because they like lock everything down just because terrorists,
Yeah.
But like with Valve, it was like scammers, and they just lock it all down to the point where you can't trade any of this shit for some reason, and I don't see how that helps them, other than people, of course, gambling. But you're like forcing people to gamble. Like you can't let them cash out their stuff to walk away from the table, which is just a bad idea coming up.
Yeah, it's really dumb. G2A, the biggest, isn't G2A a gambling site? Let me pull it up.
Yeah.
G2A is like the biggest sponsor for Dota. So it's like, what? We don't want scammers, but G2A, Global Digital.
It's like
Gaming
a gambling site. So.
Yeah.
Like, a CSGO has the same problem where everyone denounces gambling, but at the same time, it's like it pulls in so much money to the scene that these are people that are paying the streams and stuff to be huge sponsors. So it's like, we hate this. This is terrible, but only if you're a low-level site. But if you're G2A or something, then that's huge, right? And maybe we're getting a little bit off topic here. But
and maybe we're burning a bridge with somebody who could possibly give us money.
But it's interesting to see Valve... their attitude switched so much, and I compare these two a lot, but with CSGO and their kind of community that's built around their system, it's just interesting. Like you see all these old items, like like the Pudge hook that's really...
It's awesome. The Dragon Claw hook.
The Dragon Claw
hook. It's like bones
that's like
made of bones.
200 keys for this. And do you remember keys, by the way?
I started after keys.
You did.
Yeah, but
so that was an interesting system. I kind of wish they would have kept, because it's doing okay in CSGO, but I think they just wanted to differentiate it. And then you could get the chest drop, and then that way you were getting what they wanted you to do was just buy keys to unlock the chest, and then you could buy the chest off the market and all this. You had like these different streams rather than it just being baked down to drops. And
drops. There's no such thing as drops in Dota 2. Let's be honest.
There are. I mean, but they're garbage. But at the same time, it's like anywhere you go, Valve's getting a cut of that. And so I don't understand why it is that they're not allowing these to be marketable right off the bat.
Well, for one, all the immortals, other than even the rares and the very rares, are worthless. Let's be honest. At level 1200, I received... I'm not one of those people that's on Reddit where it's like level 1200 receives 0 rares, 0 very rares, 0 ultra
and
rares.
Most people are on the other end of the spectrum that I just don't feel like there's a lot of an argument. I gambled and I got nothing. It's like, yeah, well, that's gambling.
That's the point. It doesn't guarantee you anything. But anyway, I got the ultra rare Necro, I got the ultra rare Slark, I got I got very rares in all 3 chests. The only item that I did not get was the Sven Sword. At level 1200 or something like that.
Well, I go through actually a popular member in the community gave me the Shattered Greatsword,
which is where now its price has been shattered.
Well, yeah, it has, but I actually can't trade it because it came from a Nexon bundle. I can't trade or sell it, so like I hop on and look, and I'm like, I already have a sword that I like, so I don't care too much if I don't get this other one. I still want it, of course, because that's the nerd in me. But you look at the price of that other rare sword, and it drops like $200 in one day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just because another $40 sword comes out.
So it's $40 for the Sven Ultra Rare.
Right.
Or it's $40 for 100 levels.
Yeah.
And you would get 2 more tries. You get 2 chests in 100 levels. It's every 50 levels you get.
Not worth it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to buy the sword.
They're making it not worth it. And I think this... Okay. So you have the reef terrain, which is actually pretty cool. I've been playing with it a bit. I have some discrepancies with it. You know, like are these people like, did they take like a goblet of fire Harry Potter magical potion to fight underwater for like constantly? You know, like what's going on there? Like I don't know. Like maybe I'm getting too into it. And the grid in the middle that flows through the river, like some of those spaces are so big your hero would fall through. And every time I run by it,
you can't suspend your disbelief.
No,
for
I can't,
dude.
I just really can't. Like I know we're playing like a wizard magic game, but like I'm just like they must have cast some special spell or something.
There's like a walking like watermelon guy, and you're worried about people falling through a grate.
Exactly. Well, it's just like I don't know. It's like these little things that like I like the concept and idea, but it just doesn't feel. Conceptually, it doesn't feel as well put together as last year with the whole like Immortal Gardens terrain and stuff. Like,
was that TI6 Immortal Gardens?
Yeah, it was last year, and so like
that was beautiful.
Yeah, that whole theme compared to this theme, like I'm really excited for this TI from the level of play and the changes that have come with the backpack shrines, all this stuff. Like the game feels way better.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
you're right.
It wasn't there last year.
Yeah,
and so all this stuff that's streamlining the process of these games and being able to increase the skill ceiling a bit is awesome. But I feel like picking like just underwater theme, it feels like a cheesy like school dance or something that just like we're gonna do under
the sea,
under the sea, and it's just like I wish they would have made a better concept there, and it feels like it was kind of rushed. And
it would have been cool. And you're the one that brought this point up to me. If they would have followed more Dark Reef, darker like Slark storyline, right? Breaking out of Dark Reef prison.
Yep.
If they would have, and for those of you,
you know
who
how
know
I would have done it.
don't...
Can I say how I right
absolutely.
here and now? I saved it for now. I would have done the Radiant side a beach that would have just been like up to the point. It would have just been like a beach with like wrecked ships and shit all up on the beach, and that would be the light side. And then on the dark side, the dire side would be like part of the prison. So like there'd be like kind of like how the river is like all that iron bar and stuff. It would be like that. It wouldn't be underwater. Like there'd be parts that look like they're underwater, but it would just be like wrecked like rebar and stuff from like the prison, as if like they're escaping from the prison. Because that's Slark's lore, right? Like he escaped from Dark Reef prison, and apparently that's
and I feel like I don't know if there's any more heroes tied to Dark Reef prison, but the first ultra rare being the Slark and his particle effects being Breaker of Chains, right? He's related to Daenerys.
Someone has
Stormborn.
a huge Slark boner at Valve. I don't get
Slark's
it.
awesome, dude.
He is pretty cool, but like I don't know, like
I'm surprised you've never got into him. But I guess he's not like...
I've been watching like videos on him. I do want to play him more.
He's kind of not your style. Your style is like, I run and hit people. No offense, like, but that is your style. Like, it has been in every game we've ever played since we were kids. It's been like, I want big sword. I want to go fight.
I want to be able to be hit in the face several times. And like even playing, like I've been trying to play more ranged heroes, and that's... I mean, I swear to God, like 80% of my time on Dota has been on like melee carries. So it's like I try to play Drow, and it's like...
I saw that drought. It's hard to last hit with her. It's
at the beginning it is like it's just like I don't know. It's just something that I'm not very good at. And like with Slark, it's like you're right. It is different. It's like more hit and run and hit.
It's
and
all
stuff like that.
It's all about like dodging and weaving, right? Like it's about breaking out of prison. He didn't break out of prison because he was super strong. He broke out of prison because he was like agile.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of different there. But yeah, somebody at Valve does definitely love Slark, and I love the idea of Slark. I love that at level 6 he becomes sustainable completely. With I guess without mana, his purge is many times bullshit. In my opinion,
it's such high skill ceiling. Just watching, I was like watching Envy stream and like watching just that tick of a second where he's like, I wouldn't even know I'd got stunned in the second that he was like getting the stun off of him by the time he pressed it in time.
And like you'll see even a Sven stun where they have it timed where they know it's going to hit them, and they use I believe it's called Dark Pact. It's Q. Where a Sven his stun will just hit Slark and stun him for like 0.01 seconds, and he still takes the damage, but it's purged off immediately.
The hero's cool, no doubt. Like I do want to learn how to play him, and that's honestly what a lot of my year's been, even though I haven't gone up in MMR. Well, actually I have. I think I was a lot lower last year than I am this year, but a lot of it this year is like it's an insane game. And like I've said this before on the show, although it's been a while, you don't really realize the depth until you've specialized in an area and then try to jump into another area where it's just like, wow, I've been crutching myself in a way because I never realized like I put this much time, probably enough to be proficient like at a musical instrument in just like 3 or 4 heroes. And that's depressing, but at the same time, it's like, it shows you the depth of the game that people can put 10, 12,000 hours and still not
true.
be good.
You could be like a carpenter. Like, you could be like a master carpenter.
Yeah.
If I just worked with, like, and pretty much anything. Like, I could be a great, whatever they call it, a clay maker.
Clayman?
Clayman? I don't know. With the wheel and the pots and the drying in the oven.
Now
Sculptor?
Yeah, I guess.
A sculptor. Yeah.
Ceramicist?
Ceramicist.
Because it's like ceramics.
But it's true. I mean, my accounts are inflated because I leave Dota 2 on, but still, like, I probably realistically have 6,000 to 7,000 hours, I would say.
I'm too proud to do a Smurf. I have Dr. Strangelove, which is someone I played like 20 games on.
I played a bunch of games on him too, because one time I got a 24-hour ban from not accepting through a series of unfortunate events. It was like a 5-minute ban for not accepting, and then I went out and like had a cigarette or something and missed that one. And I was partied with you, and then we got a 30-minute ban. You're like, okay, that's okay, we'll go get dinner. Then we came back from dinner, and then I missed it again because I think the computer crashed, and got a 24-hour ban after that, or something like that.
And that reminds me back in the day, they used to have just timeouts. Instead of having any sort of low priority, it was just like, you're done.
That's worse.
You're done for 36 hours.
That's
and
so much
your
worse.
account was just locked down. Counter-Strike still does that. I mean, you can still play community servers and stuff. But back then, you couldn't. There was no ranked, as far as I remember.
Yeah, I remember you being. I didn't understand Dota because you obviously got
mainly abandoned.
Dota.
It was mainly abandoned. So like, you'd abandon one, and it would be all good.
And you were living here when I wasn't playing Dota, and you were getting way into it. This is probably 6 months before I started playing. 2014, early 2014, maybe late 2013.
Even earlier, probably like 5 years ago now.
Yeah, like 2013, probably 4 years ago.
Where we just played Sniper.
Well, you just played this is probably around the time when you just played Bounty Hunter, and I remember coming down to your room and being like, hey, let's go get dinner, and you're like, I can't, just started this game. I was like, how long until it's over? And you're like, I don't know, probably like 30 minutes. And it was like bullshit, like you were in pick phase.
I was trying to get you to play the game so hard back then. I'm just like, and I was just like, it's not my type of game.
Because I had played it in 2012.
I'm like, no, listen to me. Like, you can't just say this type of game isn't your type
of game.
And you're like, yeah, I can. No, you can't. Like, there's so many different types of heroes. Like, I'm sure you could find one hero that you like that was your type of game.
And I was like, nope, you're not controlling, 100 different units or maybe 70 different units like StarCraft 2. Like that. And this was 2012, so StarCraft 2 had only been out 2 years, although it felt like it was already on the decline, even though it only had been out for 2 years.
And that's largely because of the lack of support from Blizzard. You see that...
I don't know what it was.
Watch Day 9 play. Like, you see the light in Day 9's eyes when he plays Dota 2 now that you saw back when he was playing StarCraft 2.
Or Brood War, even if you look at some old videos.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like with his early Day 9 dailies. And that's goes to show the longevity of Dota. I mean, Dota's here to stay. There's not just 3 races. And sure, I don't know if we're going to continually raise the prize pool by $1 million or $2 million every year.
That watermark's dumb, but to do that, in my opinion, to say, now next year we have to beat, I don't know, I don't even care what we're at this year.
We're at like 25 mil or something.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we beat it by...
Oh my gosh, wow, 21.5.
Oh, okay.
So, and I think last year was 20.7.
Yeah, it's already surpassed it.
So it's surpassed last year, but the thing is, like, now next year, it has to be 25 million.
I'm going to come back to it again on the Battle Pass. It's so funny to see a company like Valve that has been so hypercritical of DRM, even though they are a company that does digital rights management.
Oh.
And so, like, they're critical of Microsoft for locking everything down, or the Windows Store, or Xbox. They're very critical of PlayStation 3 when it was launched, even though they launched Orange Box on it. And so, for them to be, like, when you buy these digital things, like, you don't own them anymore.
No, they just sit and rot in your own little cell.
I have so much shit I don't want, like, just, I know you can recycle it and stuff, but that's not that cool. Like, let me throw it on the market for, 35 cents.
Yeah, even if it's 5 cents because somebody wants to get it and recycle it themselves, and they're like saying, okay, I can buy all these immortals and I can recycle them and I can get levels. Maybe I want something that's $5 and I have enough of these immortals that if I sell 20 of them at 5 cents, I make $1, and just so on, and just clear out my inventory completely. Yeah, that'd be nice.
They found themselves in a whole heap of trouble because Dota 2 is a free-to-play game. So you have so many people coming in that you can't possibly control how many people have bot accounts. But, just do it by registering a phone number. Like, have that be something like with this battle pass. Guess what? You can mark it on day one if you have your number assigned to your account. Day one. If you don't, we're going to have to do it in 90 days. Like, sorry, it's just how it is because we don't want, like, scammers or anyone on the market or anything like that.
Yeah, like when you buy the battle pass, say you either put in a phone number and you can buy it, and that way you can trade all the items that you get and it'll be a blast. And you and your friends can trade back and forth and do whatever. But if you don't have a phone number, sorry, you will have to wait until TI8. TI8. After TI8 is over is when I could give you a golden life stealer.
By that point, who's going to give a shit?
Well, it may be rare, but it's like, say you're one of those people, which there are people that have like 7,000 games on one hero. Like I just saw a guy on Pugna who has 7,000 games on Pugna. And what if there is a very rare Pugna item and he's obviously broke because all he does is play Pugna and doesn't have a job or anything, right? Like that guy can't afford his Pugna very rare. But I get it, and I'm friends with him, and I'm like, hey, dude, I want to give you this Pugna very rare so you can look in style while you play your 7,000 games of Pugna.
You gave me those anti-mage basher blades, and that has the cheesiest inscription on it ever. It says, "Only a true warrior" on the left one, and then on the right one it says, "Knows how bad magic is." And it's like, what the hell? I was like looking at it, I was like, that's so dumb, but I gotta keep it because it's so dumb. It's like, I have no idea what that means.
Well, you were, because I got that. Was that TI6? Or was that no, that was TI5.
That was TI5, yeah.
Oh my god.
Back when you could actually trade that stuff.
Yeah, and I got them, and you're like, I really want them. Will you please give them to me? And I was like, nope. And then I had a horrible anti-mage game, and I was like, fuck this, you can have them, but I want the regular ones. And so you traded me the regular ones.
Best deal of my life.
For the gold ones.
But there used to be this whole... I mean, Dota is a game that is pretty hard sometimes to feel that camaraderie. Like, if you're on a losing streak and people are, like, flaming you all the time, or you're flaming other people. So, like, to have a time where it's like, this is Dota Christmas, and we can trade around our stuff. I mean, does it really hurt sales?
I don't really... I guess I've never really explored the reason. I will say that I gave a lot more fucks about cosmetics when I first started playing Dota. Like my Nature's Prophet, I remember being like, oh my god, I want the Scythe of Ice, which was it's an icy Scythe of Vice. And it was like $97. And it was super duper cool. And then the stock market collapse of Dota 2 happened and went down to like $13. And I bought it, and it didn't have the same effect. It didn't have the effect of like, wow. Like I would never spend $97, but maybe if I got, a drop or got a very rare and could sell it, I would probably spend my money on that.
There used to be a lot more, interesting type of dynamic when it came to the market, like with couriers too. I mean, I remember like some of those war dogs and stuff that kind of like the Juggernaut dogs. I forget exactly what they're called, but there used to be one special one with one special color element to it that was selling for thousands of dollars, and there's some things that have even sold for more, and like stuff like that.
And Golden Roshan was $10,000 at one point,
like enough to buy a
baby
car
Roshan
or something.
Yeah.
And it's like seeing that in a game is like, wow, there's some mystery to that. There's some awesome ability to be like, wow, I saw something that was super rare. And like, that's all it is. I mean, at the end of the day it's a way to differentiate yourself in a sea of normal. And I just feel like they're taking that away. They're kind of turning it into some type of system where it's only there to generate money for them. And with that being said, I don't see any point of dumping in money to battle passes anymore.
I did it because I don't know how I wanted level 1000 this year, and I've said it a couple times on the show, but I don't know if I've told you my intention. But I've put in so much time into Dota that I want the Metal Aegis. That's why I did it. I wanted to level.
Well, you'll probably get it like a week before TI8 starts.
Whatever,
like
I don't care. I don't care when I get it. I want when Charlie grows up, maybe when my son is like 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever, to be like, what is that weird thing you have on your desk? And be like, well, once upon a time, I, did this podcast and played this game literally all day. And then you came along and you really got in the way of that. Thanks a lot. Yeah,
right. He'll be like number one mid CK or something, which is some weird thing that they're playing. And like he'll be like the new Sumail. Be like, Dad, you don't know.
Oh, I'd be so fucking proud. I would be like the Papa Z freak or whatever. What was his name?
Or like Mama Moo.
Mama Moo and Papa. Anyway, they were like, I would be even more. I'd be like, yeah, let's party. You know what I mean? Like that would be so cool. But
get them started young. I mean, like people like.
There's gonna be a new game. I know there will be a new game by the time then. It's gonna be 3D. I mean, I tried Oculus for the first time and I'm scared of it. I'm not even gonna lie.
You don't like it?
I don't know if I'm mentally sound enough to put that thing on again and trust what is true reality, dude.
It's like House of Cards with Conway when he's like having his PTSD flashbacks and he's like in the VR thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like
fucking nuts.
I like to have a little bit of separation between that. Like that's why
it's too
Oculus
much.
Has never really appealed to me too much.
Did I tell you the story? So I had the Oculus on and I was doing Google Earth. Is what I was doing, and you just like you point at something and then you're there, and you just kind of like go around. You can go pretty much anywhere on Earth, and check it out, and it's really pretty sweet. But under my eyes, there was light getting through, which was breaking the immersion, right? Because it was like the real world was seeping into my eyes, and so I keep tightening the Oculus as I'm playing. I'm just like tightening it, and then like whoa, look Cambodia, whoa, look top of Mount Everest, whoa, and then the top of my head itches. And I go to itch it, but I don't feel myself itch the top of my head. And so I'm like, what the fuck? And then I go to itch it, and then I take the VR off, and it is suction cupped onto my face so hard. My face is red, and I have lost feeling in my face and the top of my head. Because I cinched that thing on so fucking tight. And it was so immersive that I didn't even notice that thing was literally like, my brain was not getting like blood probably. It was just on so tight onto my head. And I was like, dude, how long have I had this on? It's like, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. And was like, what? It was the most immersive experience I've ever had. And that's what video games will be, without a doubt.
We'll see, like, in terms of esports, it's interesting to see kind of, you've gone from, you know...
Or augmented reality. 3D or augmented reality, the same. Like, they're not similar.
You've gone from, like, Unreal Tournament and games like that to, I mean... What makes a good esport is it's debatable, but I feel like one reason Dota works so well is because all the information is right there in front of you.
Yeah.
Even with Counter-Strike, it's like, even though it's a huge spectator sport as well, esport.
Do you think it needs to be a team game? Because StarCraft 2, it could be a team game. You could play 2v2, you could play 3v3, you could play 4v4. Never ever happened. The tournaments were always 1v1. And it wasn't the dawn of esports, but it's where you started seeing money. I mean, it's where I was like, wow, these, like, Audrey would be like, why are you watching that? I'm like, that guy's going to win like 40 grand. And she, you know what I mean?
Well, I think like the original like
GSL
was like 32 or something.
Yeah, it was like a bajillion Korean dollars.
It's like, do you know how much money they're gonna win? Yeah. It's like, you shouldn't make fun of them. Yeah, they're gonna win like 30 grand.
Yeah, like he could probably go buy like a brand new Toyota Camry after this. Okay,
but now it's like this is a life-changing money. I mean, like Universe or someone like that, like top earners in Dota 2, they're never gonna have to work again if they invest correctly.
Yeah, if they invest correctly.
Like, given, like, I think you're gonna see kind of the same amount of burnout coming out from esports that you see in the NFL and stuff, and that's like kids who aren't that smart getting tons of money. Not that they're unintelligent, but they're just not that smart with money, and they're gonna just blow a ton of it. You know, like, and then what do you do when you go into a world where you don't have money and you don't have the skills to like, or the education?
Well, the thing is, and I don't know, that's an interesting point to bring up, where like the football players are modern day gladiator. That, you know, a lot of people bring that point up, that when their body has been expended or when they get enough knee surgeries or what have you, they're done, and then they have only so much money to get them through for the rest of their life because they dropped out of college to go into NFL, and they don't really have any practical skills in modern day society. I don't know if that totally applies to Dota 2 in the regard that they're not, I don't know. I don't want to sound like that football players are uneducated, but I feel like Dota 2 is, I don't know. I'm not going to even make that comparison that Dota 2 is using more of the mind, because I don't understand football well enough to make that conclusion.
Dota 2 is like half strategy, half reflexes, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And like that lops into everything. Strategy could be like item builds, everything like that. Whereas football is like, strength, endurance, and speed. I guess
strength, endurance, and speed, but also you've got to be smart. I mean, you've got to know that there's like an opening. You've got to be able to think quickly. You've got to just like in Dota, where you take a situation, you have to judge it for what it is instantly and react. That's the same with, I would say, any sports ball.
Well, like PPD, I know he's someone that is definitely not underrated in any way, shape, or form, but this is another way that I think he's kind of ahead of the curve, is that guy could have gone on and maybe won another TI or two and add the money.
Maybe not. Maybe, I mean, even if he didn't, fourth place, sixth
second,
place,
third, like you're still making
place.
money.
Yeah.
But instead he decided to transition into like the CEO role because of the longevity of it. And so if he just does a good job, that's a job for probably the rest of his life. You know what I mean? Like in some way, shape, or form, they're in bed with Twitch and all that. Like, that's just kind of
And he's going to have practical skills that will take him on to whatever the next game is. Because if you stay a Dota 2 player, you've got to put in the time, right? I mean, if I'm Sumail, or if I'm any popular or any top level player, you've got to play every single day for multiple hours. I mean,
there's like this chemical X of it too, though. Like you can play all the time and still not make it. Like look at all these players like Banana, Slam Jamma and stuff that put in tons and tons and tons of time. Look at Sing Sing and stuff like that.
Sing Sing is really fucking good.
Yeah,
I think he just makes too much money streaming in order to want to pursue any pro revelation or anything.
Sure,
like that.
I mean that's understandable.
His stream
too.
is super popular.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
he's kind of like a trolley player. He's considered in ways too, but he makes a ton of money doing that. And so I don't know. I think we're just starting to see kind of the burgeoning wave of what esports is going to be in terms of where the job opportunities are going to take it in the next couple of years.
Yeah, but it's definitely a weird decision though, and it would give me great anxiety to know that like, okay, I'm really good at this game, but am I going to be really good at the next game?
No.
You know what I mean?
And I mean, like,
is there a single StarCraft 2 pro that we've seen in Dota 2? We saw Select leave StarCraft 2 to play Dota and then come back to StarCraft 2, and he made it to Grandmaster in like 30 days.
He should have just stuck with it.
Yeah.
Select, like, I think he's a pretty talented guy.
Yeah.
I think if he would have just stuck with it, it would have been something. But it's one of those games where they're so different, and I mean, it's just like anything. It's like a field of work. If you put 10K hours into like being a ceramicist or like a carpenter or something, it's like you don't just switch gears and do something else because you've dedicated so much time and energy into doing that. I mean, there's a reason people specialize, and I mean, like, I think with StarCraft, maybe this is a conversation for another time, but with Brood War Remastered coming out, it'd be interesting to see if that kind of lights a fire under the ass of that scene, because that game is still pretty popular in Korea. I mean, not so much as League or something like that, but
yeah, other things just took it over, and once that happened, I mean, you just saw the slow decline in it. It makes me wonder what Artosis is up to, wonder what Tasteless is up to.
They're still doing GOM.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, man. Anyway.
And, if you ask some important people in the Dota 2, casting community who they think the most accomplished and best caster of all time is, they'll tell you Artosis most of the time.
Artosis, really?
Yeah. Just because he was kind of like the new age guy who really made a life at doing it. I mean, he was sleeping on like dingy floors in Korea to get his start and stuff. And like his family owns a guinea pig farm, so they didn't have like a bunch of money to send him to like live comfortably or anything.
He did it though. And as much shit as I may have said about Artosis and that he bugged me, he was able to assess what was happening in StarCraft. He was able to bring the hype. He was a well-rounded caster, and he didn't smoke like 40 packs of cigarettes the night before like Tasteless.
God, Tasteless sounded like an 80-year-old grandmother, dude. Like it was a bottle of whiskey and 3 packs of Marlboro Reds in every cast. Yeah. But he's still very talented himself.
Yeah, he was. And I mean,
one thing they were great at
was,
and I think this is maybe why they are attributed with so much of like the caster duo, kind of they're given that, is because they weren't hindsight casters. If you go back and listen, they weren't like, oh, he really should have done this faceless or tasteless because he's really gonna tasteless void.
Yeah.
But, he really should have done this because now, like, it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to have hindsight in your corner, especially in a game like Dota where you're like, man, he should not have built an Orchid there. It's easier to talk about that. And I see so many amateur
there's lulls
casters.
too.
Yeah.
There's lulls, like, because there's a farm lull, and you'll be like, I need to fill time, I need to talk. StarCraft, there weren't many lulls. It was like, oh man, is he going to have enough Zerglings to bust through those Marines? That is completely neutral. That's a neutral statement, right? Is he going to have enough to take down these Marines? I mean, or are there enough Marines to take down the Zerglings, type
It's
thing.
just like life in Dota, though. It's really easy to criticize people's decisions rather than talk about why they might have gone through that thought process. It's easier to be like, this is wrong. Like when they're all of a sudden behind, it's easier to be like, want to talk about why they're wrong, even though you're just looking at it in hindsight. Mm-hmm. And so with StarCraft, I think it was a game that, because of the 1v1 type nature of it, it was kind of hard to do that because someone was always up and someone was always down. It was just 1v1, and like you always understood why pros were doing a certain thing. In Dota, it's blurred. It's a more blurred line because any possible decision has a positive and a negative depending upon if someone else does a number of decisions. And like with more variables being available, it's even easier for that choice to be a mistake. So I think you see a lot of casters kind of rely on falling back, and because they have that hindsight available to them, being able to be like putting themselves above the player and criticizing. And this was kind of a big bit of drama that was a couple weeks ago or about a month ago about people being very critical, casters being very critical of players. And it's something I definitely don't agree with because, it's very easy to lose a game of Dota, and I think it's a hard thing to cast, of course, but at the same time, hindsight, it's just one of those things that it doesn't benefit casting and it doesn't make for an enjoyable cast. But.
No, and yeah, I mean, I feel the casters plight on like, what do I talk about? Like, it's a lull. They're farming. It's a Slark. He's farming. He's just farming. That's all he's doing. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to semi criticize or semi point a finger at why in the hell did the Lich get a pipe? They don't need a pipe. It's all physical damage. But you've got to realize there's a captain and they're all talking. He didn't just buy that pipe and be like, hey guys, I have a pipe now. And they're like, oh, thumbs up, dude. Sweet, yeah. We needed one. Like the captain was probably like, hey guys, we need a pipe for this specific situation. And the caster is assuming that the caster is putting himself in a place where he thinks he has all this knowledge about what's going on. It's assumed knowledge, which makes the caster, it makes them look bad.
I think Dota 2 is probably one of the hardest games to cast in the history of esports too, for that reason, because
10 different things happening at once,
all of that, and like at the same time, it's like if you guess what's going to happen, what's your likelihood of being right, unless you're like a super awesome analytical caster like Cinderin or something.
And when they are right, you're just like, wow, awesome. But then there's more action. It's like, you guess that they're going to roche right now. Oh, they're roaching right now. But now you need to keep going.
Staying in the moment's difficult, especially when you need to fill time. But
and I mean, Cinderin's been to a TI in the last 2 years. I mean, Cinderin made it to TI 6 with Escape Gaming. Didn't have as much time with Crescendo this year. That was just a big bummer. But even listening to some of his casts, I don't feel like they're as retrospective. I feel like he understands a little bit.
You can only imagine what another team's doing at times. Like you can't, if you knew what every high tier team was doing at every point in time, like why aren't you playing? Like, why are you casting? It's just one of those things where hindsight is pretty easy to fill time, and trying to guess what they're doing is filling time. But if you don't get it right when you're guessing, then it makes you look bad. And if you're like criticizing what the player's doing in hindsight, then it makes you look bad. And so it's just like finding that balance of staying in the moment and being able to, accurately portray what's going on. It's a very difficult game to cast.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of retrospective, let's get what's been going on with you since, I don't know, September. I mean, seeing as we haven't really, what's new with you? What do you have to say? Your life, different changes.
My life's been great since I have kind of Try Hard Tuesdays is no longer a thing. It was always built up to be something that was a intro level show to kind of talk about general game mechanics and stuff, kind of like a spiritual successor to what it is we started the show to be, which was I guess just a continuation of our growth and skill. And that's a really hard thing to do as well. I don't think the show ever came off as it was supposed to be, and a lot of that was me, 99.9% of it. just having nowhere to go. I mean, you can only talk about item builds and heroes and stuff for so long before it's like, God, I'm just repeating myself, and I'm actually not that good at the game to repeat it. So
I feel your plight with doing Proudland for as long as I did, is coming up with a new topic each week that is both interesting, informative, and educational that you haven't already covered. That has a very short lifespan.
Yep.
And is extremely hard to replicate and stay excited about as a show host.
It's much easier just to talk about kind of what's going on in the community and the scene. And that's why you see a lot of people doing that. I mean, you see that in all of, you even see it with a lot of DotP's content now. But other than that, I've kind of just been focusing on my career. I know a lot of people that have followed me on Twitter and stuff, they saw that I changed my Twitter, and I did that for a job. They're like, we need someone who knows all about these Instagrams and Twitters and stuff. And I'm like, I have a Twitter. And they're like, wow, like, show me. And it got me a job. I mean, interestingly enough, like that and a few other things. And so I've been working as a technical writer for a communications and outsourcing company. And they also do a lot of work in software. So been moving on, doing my education still. I feel like I feel like Billy Madison up at all of these like college campuses. Like you see a girl and you're like, there's no way like you are old enough to be in college. It's like everyone, like I feel way old, but I'm plugging away at that still.
You're the between like, because the university that we go to has like people who worked for 20 years, got laid off, and then want to learn a skill, and then you have actual 18-year-olds that are coming into university, and you're just like in between where you're like, didn't exactly get laid off, but I'm not exactly 18 years old.
Yeah, I'm too disillusioned to like be part of the youth, and I'm not disillusioned enough to be a part of like the old cadre of people that just like hate life. But life's been pretty good. Haven't done a lot in esports or anything like that, and I mean that's for better or for worse. Like I definitely did not leave DotP on the best of terms, and that is greatly my fault. It's I reacted poorly to a situation that I shouldn't have, and
that's not specifically what I wanted to go into. Honestly, it was a shame. It honestly was. It was all just a big giant shame, and it just goes to show that like what is the biggest shame about it all is the way our generation chooses to communicate with one another, and the way something can be so damning so instantly, that the cat is literally out of the bag instantly.
I think Valve
Valve
put it best, and Gabe Newell said this, it was like CES or something. He said, you never lie to the internet, because the internet will find what you said, they'll deconstruct your spin, and they'll never forget. The internet never forgets. And whenever you put something out there these days, no matter what it is, if it's anything stupid you said, or insulting somebody, or if your Cyphus like nude pictures, like those are out there forever. And like there's no way you can ever delete those in ways. And like I hope he listens to that. But
I'm sure he will.
It's just one of those things. I mean, we're growing up in a day and age where anonymity, although that guy in your game calling you all sorts of names and saying terrible things to you, like that's anonymous in a way. Like,
but if you wanted to seek it out, you could. Right. If you wanted to figure out who the hell that was, and you cared enough, you could probably figure it out. But it's just like there's just a bazillion of them, and it was unfortunate. The events surrounding it was unfortunate the way everything was handled, and it was honestly, there's been a lot of like milestones that were sad for me within Defense of the Patience. Like first one being Easy Marquise having to get a real job, even though he already had
family and stuff.
Having a family and having to leave. And
I do not. So I'm hoping to be more involved with DotP moving forward in terms of just however I can be. I mean, it's still like my child, and I've said multiple times it's like my child that I'm not allowed to see. It's like it's like I'm not down. I'm like, I really would have been at your ball game, son, but your mom won't let me go.
And I yesterday said that it's like my child that's all grown up and now just asks for money every once in a while. Yeah. And it's like I can't control what it does, but it just asks for money.
Watching the growth, and I'm seeing this with Dota as well, and that's watching a whole new younger generation start to be into the game. And it's like you're seeing a younger group of people, you're seeing younger talent like Abed and stuff like that, And pretty soon,
the youngest player I think in the scene right now is Abed.
You're just gonna see younger and younger kids come in and gonna make you feel
Not
older
positive.
than like I felt old when I started playing in a way because
How old were you?
I was 23 or so.
Jeez, dude, you could have been a pro. I'm like,
yeah, right.
I didn't start when I was 20. Well, maybe I guess I started when I was like 22.
We're missing one pocket strat where this person only plays sniper or bounty hunter, and at that he only plays at a 1.6k level. They'll never, ever, ever expect it. Like maybe then I could be a pro, but the game is growing, and just to kind of facilitate the game and watch DotP grow has been one of my life's great pleasures, And like speaking of which, you still have 96 Axe games to do.
I know.
Dang,
I do. There was a very generous donation given to watch me play 100 Axe games. So far, I've done. I think I've done 5 of them actually. I just haven't updated that stream, but. Yep, I have 100 Axe games. I'm going to try and do them all in a row. Of course, Axe probably will be banned or first picked by the other team. I'm first picking Axe. And then he wants me to play at mid, but I've kind of been like, all right, I'll try. And just kind of just going jungler off lane because I tried it. My first game mid, we actually won the game, but it was against Alina, I believe, and it was just miserable. Axe can go mid against like Dragon Knight, I would say. Like I think Dragon Knight's a pretty good example of maybe somebody the Axe could punish a little bit in the mid lane. But other than that,
I played Bristle mid last night and went like 15-4 and still lost.
Bristle mid makes sense, like because you have a ranged ability. Axe doesn't. I guess the ranged ability the Axe has is Battle Hunger because he can do it with some range. But anyway, pleasure to have you back. Of course.
Yep. Thanks for having me on. It's good. Good to be back. Good to be back in the studio. It's hot as hell in here.
I know, and that's why I'm closing us. I'm giving us a 5-minute. We get to get out 5 minutes early. But you guys can find us at defenseofthepatients.com. You can find us at twitch.tv/.ptv. You can go email us at defenseofthepatients@gmail.com. You can donate patreon.com/defenseofthepatients. We appreciate that. You can also subscribe on Twitch. We are now affiliated. We're affiliated with Twitch, not partnered, affiliated. You can YouTube.com/.btv1. And you can leave a comment on iTunes. Believe it or not, that is an extremely helpful way of leaving feedback. Please be positive. I don't care if you're positive. Please be honest. Honesty is going to be the best way to see ourselves grow, see ourselves get better. Honestly speaking, the most brutal comments that I've received have been some of the most helpful. I don't take anything to heart. It doesn't ruin my day. It lets me know that I'm doing things that I can change very easily. And if you see anything like that, please let us know. Once again, for Wazoo's phone, for me, Roland, and Wazoo, saying, I don't know. I don't have a good. What do you
saying?